A senior North Korean diplomat has been invited to New York in an attempt to revive long-stalled talks over his country's controversial nuclear program. The moves come just days after top envoy from the North and South Korea sat together for the first time in over 2 years on the sidelines of a security summit in Indonesia. There, they agreed to renew six-party talks over Pyongyang's atomic ambitions. Negotiations were halted after North Korea shelled Yongbyon Island, killing 4 people, saying it was responding to provocative military drills. However, the U.S. Secretary of State says before any deal is discussed, North Korea must first dismantle its nuclear facilities to discuss the issue. Let's cross live now to Pepe Escobar, an Asia Times correspondent, talking to us from Bangkok. Pepe, thank you for being here with us. Now, why has the U.S. invited a North Korean envoy now? What do you read into the timing? How significant is it?
Well, it smacks a little bit of desperation, especially because when you look at the inbuilt clause, which is you dismantle your nuclear program first, and then we decide to talk to you. That's an absolute no-no. I was in North Korea last year, and I confirmed from North Korean officials directly that the state of play is the same state of play as it was 58 years ago tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 58th anniversary of the armistice that did not end the Korean War, for that matter. North Korea and South Korea are still at war with each other. There's an armistice, and the North Koreans are saying, we have to sit down at the same table with the Americans, and then we're going to formally end the war, and then we're going to discuss everything, including the nuclear program. So the State Department now is trying to jump the gun and say, no, first you get rid of your nuclear weapons in your Tapandong missiles, and then we talk. So obviously the North Koreans are going to Washington. The special envoy is going to Washington, is going to say, look, our position has been the same for the past 58 years. Take it or leave it.
Well, you know, everyone's been talking about when will the two Koreas sit down face to face and talk and resolve their issues. But do you see this likely? Is this likely to happen?
No, it's not. It's fascinating when you visit South Korea and then you visit North Korea and you compare the ideological divide and the wall of mistrust between two sides. It's almost humanly impossible to find a middle ground. They would have to sit down with, of course, the U.S. on the side of the South Koreans and China more or less defending the North Korean position. But even if it's a six-party talk, like now, they collapsed at least 3 times before, and there's nothing to prevent them from collapsing all over again. The thing is, first you have to end the war. It's true. And the war, from the North Korean point of view, is a war against America. It's not South Korea. They view it as a puppet government of the Americas, and they view that South Korea, in the minds of Pyongyang, of course, it's still occupied by American troops. There are 36 to 38,000 U.S. troops, but the North Koreans sees it as a Western occupation of South Korea. So unless you start to ironing out this basic difference, it's absolutely impossible to even start talking. From the point of view of the Chinese, gets even more complicated because China wants the status quo to go on, I would say, forever. They don't want Korean reunification. They think that Korea would be an extremely powerful player if it's unified in Northeast Asia. They prefer things as they stand at the moment, as long as the U.S. doesn't have full spectrum dominance ideas of trying to control the Yellow Sea. So you can see that, you know, there's problems going like Tapandong missiles virtually everywhere.
Mr. Escobar, let's now talk a little more about the U.S. and South Korea cooperation, which you mentioned a little earlier. And as we know, they hold joint military maneuvers quite often on a regular basis. So in your opinion, what do they do? More harm or good?
More harm. There's going to be a huge military exercise next month, in fact, mid-August, involving tens of thousands of South Korean troops and computer games and ultra high-tech U.S. military technology. So what are the North Koreans doing to preempt what is going to happen in August. They are holding their own military exercises this week, in fact. And yesterday, by the way, there was a very significant visit by Kim Jong-il and his son, and probably heir, Kim Jong-un, his youngest son. They went to the Marine Command in Pyongyang yesterday. This is something very unusual. And we've been following this through the North Korean news agency. And they said, and they admitted online, that this is the first time that happens since 2002. For 9 years, this visit never happened. So this means it's very important that the current leader and the next leader are going to visit their key military, which is the Marine Force of North Korea, to prepare for these preemptive exercises. You know, like 3 weeks before the South Korean American ones. So it's like a kabuki theater adapted to Korea. You know, this happens all the time. So we do an exercise, we respond. We threat from another side, we respond.
100 hours. Early to bed, early to rise. Robert Jacobs. Music that makes your workday. Against the wall. Across the nation, civil unrest has intensified with the demise of the U.S. dollar.
The torpedo that sunk the Cheonan and took the lives of 46 South Korean sailors was fired by a North Korean submarine.
North Korea's weapons program continues to intensify. Now surpassed 1,000 missiles. Here at the UN to call for severe sanctions against North Korea. This morning comes the news of Kim Jong-il's death. North Koreans greet their new supreme leader, Kim Jong-il's son, Kim Jong-un.
우리 공화국의 통일은 남한과의 한민족을 갖고 올 것이며 경제와 산업의 발전을 갖고 올 것입니다.
Today, our beloved leader, Kim Jong-un, has united North and South Korea, forming the Greater Korean Republic.
Although costs at the pump are ready to break the dreaded $20 ceiling.
The only good communist is a dead communist!
Across the nation, civil unrest has intensified with the demise of the U.S. dollar.
This is not a retreat, nor are we abandoning our Asian allies.
Under threat of annihilation by the Greater Korean Republic, Japan has surrendered.
Martial law is now in effect. Excessive force will be used.
Hours after the president ordered a freeze on bank withdrawals.
We don't know where we will get our next meal from.
Korea's annexation continues to spread despite the Today, the Greater Korean Republic launched their latest communication satellite, claiming it will bring a message of peace to the entire world.
You're listening to KPAR 88.3 FM.
안녕하세요. 지금 여러분이 듣는 KPAR 88.3 방송을 듣고 계십니다.
It's another beautiful day in the Colorado territories with highs in the mid to upper 50s and strong winds expected from the east. The days are getting shorter and every citizen of the Montrose Partnership is reminded that curfew has been moved up to 1,800 hours. Early to bed, early to rise.
Robert Jacobs.
The music that makes your workday.
Against the wall!
Robert Jacobs, why are you so reluctant to serve your country in its time of need? We understand that you have lost everything, but you must take heart in what patriotism can bring you. Our glorious leader, Kim Jong-un, will teach you to unlock your country's natural resources, bringing prosperity to all. It is a gift to you. You have forced us to examine your dedication to America's cause. Take him away!
situation. You like this? Do not speak. Get on the bus. 이 새끼 감시하라요.
All up for some reason. They have my family. If I don't do what they tell me, I'll never see them again.
Don't look! Please, don't look! Just don't think about it. Just close your eyes.
Did you hear the Voice of Freedom's broadcast last night? He says this shit's happening all over the state. Every time the resistance gains some ground, the KPA comes down on the rest of us. More fuel for the labor camps. We're never gonna see most of those people again.
Keep your hands empty and visible at all times.
어떻습니까? 재규 대장자요. 1238 시소로 데려가는 중입니다. 허가증은 있습니까? 정 대장님이 서명한 허가증 여기 있지요.
Disobedience will be punished swiftly and without mercy. Please have your papers ready to present to the police.
Ever notice how quick the bodies disappear? Mass graves. That's what I've heard.
Following a disputed election and a tie vote, the U.S. Congress installs the most unpopular president in U.S. history as David Jefferson Adams becomes the 44th President of the United States. Shortly after the election, increased unrest, rioting, and a growing number of militias have given rise to ever-increasing domestic terrorism. In response, the President invokes the Homeland Security Act and declares martial law on the West Coast and other areas of the country. Though highly contested, a Supreme Court ruling sidesteps the electoral process, disqualifying popular presidential candidates from several states. Public outrage explodes when a sham election leads to incumbent David Adams accepting a second term in office. During the 57th Inauguration Day ceremonies, Washington, D.C. is struck by a low-yield nuclear weapon, killing David Adams and most of the U.S. Congress. The destruction of Washington, D.C. effectively breaks the chain of succession, sending the nation into chaos. In an emergency vote, the European Union deploys peacekeepers in the greater D.C. area to secure international interests.